watching Fox 10 Phoenix now.
Our big story here this morning, hot temperatures. They are beginning earlier and earlier, it seems, every year. Live look outside now from our camera on South Mountain as the sun rises over the valley. Right now it's 66 degrees outside, but in fact we could see some record-breaking heat as we move on into the afternoon hours, as temperatures are expected to rise into the 90s over the next few days. We have the potential here for triple digits, which could be the earliest we have seen, this week in March. If there is a silver lining here, it will be far from the extreme heat we are used to dealing with in the summer months. But still, it's important to get ready and prepare for some of those temperatures, especially if you plan to be outside for work, a spring training game. Maybe you had plans for a hike. Be sure to take plenty of water and sunscreen. Let's check in with Ty this morning for a closer look at just how high those temperatures could rise into the afternoon hours.
Yeah, it is going to be very hot over the next couple of days with those seasonal averages well above where we should be. When we say we're going to hit 94, people are like, yeah, it's Arizona, but our average, where we're supposed to be this time of the year, is only in those low 80s. So this is well above those seasonal averages. 66 is the current temperature. As you mentioned earlier at the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, we've been sitting in those upper 60s all morning long. But here we go. Potential records for today. Our projected high is 94. Our record is 94. So we could be tying a record. Tomorrow, that's the day we're going to be watching very closely, because take a look at that, 98 degrees. So that means that we are going to be well above our record of 96 and flirting with the triple digits. So speaking of triple digits, you mentioned a little bit, but the earliest that we have ever seen a triple digit is March 26th. That was set back in 1998. Now keep in mind, tomorrow is the 25th. So if we do in fact hit the triple digits tomorrow, that's going to be one of the earliest days that we have ever seen triple digits on record. Now, just to put this into perspective, where we usually see those triple digits is usually around May 2nd. That's our 30-year average. So we're going to be watching this very closely. We could have a couple record breakers for tomorrow. Let's take a look at some of our other top stories we are following for you on this Monday morning. We are learning more about a man behind bars accused of shooting his own brother last week, who was a prominent Valley attorney. Yeah, it was one of our breaking news headlines on Friday. Police say James Artie Eves was shot and killed outside of his home near 44th Street and Camelback. Friday morning, he was most recently an attorney at Sanders and Parks Attorneys at Law. Previously, a Maricopa County Attorney's Office prosecutor. The suspected shooter is his brother, Christopher Eves. Christopher was arrested when he returned to the scene of the crime, and investigators found several loaded weapons in his vehicle. Appearing before a judge over the weekend, Christopher then argued with the prosecution as well as the judge. Take a listen.
I know exactly why I have not been Mirandized. Some people are under the misperception that they don't Mirandize you, somehow the charges mysteriously go away.
Well, if Christopher bonds out, he is only allowed to get his personal items from the family home with the deputy present. The judge set a $1.5 million cash bond. We are hearing some information here this morning. A person is dead after a fire breaks out at a mobile home in Mesa. Skyfox overhead here at Ellsworth Road and Main Street. It seems crews have a handle on this one, but you can still see some smoke coming from the building. No word yet as to what caused the fire or how many people were inside that trailer when it caught fire. Again, we do know that one person was killed. We're continuing to follow the very latest on this story, and we'll bring you updates throughout the morning. Concerned postal workers gathered at the state capitol not to deliver letters, but to protest possible cuts to the postal service. The Trump administration and DOJ are floating the idea of privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. This is something that they've been chatting about for quite some time, saying the Postal Service loses millions of dollars each year. USPS recently agreed to a 10,000 job cuts. The letter carriers union says the cuts will have a major impact on service. Similar protests were held in cities across the nation over the weekend. The post office is self-funded and does not rely on money from the federal government. An Arizona congressman is speaking out this morning against cuts to the federal government by the Trump administration.
We're talking about Democrat Greg Stanton. He is calling the cuts, quote unquote, reckless. He says it will hurt working families and retirees the most and could permanently damage entire communities. He also has a warning about the gutting of federal agencies led by tech billionaire Elon Musk and President Trump. Take a listen.
Sweeping and illegal executive actions. They've handed pink slips to tens of thousands of career civil servants, canceled federal contracts, and frozen critical government funding. This is a blatant overreach of executive power. It is illegal.
However, some argue that President Trump was elected following promises to slash federal spending. Arizona Republican Congressman David Schweikert says cuts are necessary to keep the government solvent.
And we're going to need Republicans and Democrats to start telling the voters the truth of just how much financial trouble we're in.
Well, some economic experts say all of these job cuts could drive away the next generation of federal workers. Police investigation taking place near 7th Avenue in Highlands. So this is just south of Camelback Road. This is video from the scene from earlier this morning. Police responding to a shooting call. That's where, according to police, they found a man with a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital, is expected to survive. Police say the suspect took off before officers arrived and has not been arrested. So if we learn any more throughout the morning, we'll pass that along to you. We're also learning more about a deadly head-on crash that happened in Prescott that killed a father and his 2 kids.
The crash was Saturday afternoon. The Yavapai County Sheriff's Office says it appears the father crossed the center lane, hitting the other vehicle. The woman and her adult son were in that other car, and the father identified as Jesse Foreman of Chino Valley, and 1 child died at the scene. The other child died on the way to the hospital. Another child and 3 adults are still in the hospital at this hour. It is not clear if speed or impairment were factors in the crash.
Police are searching for a hit-and-run driver. The crash happened yesterday afternoon near 31st Avenue in Van Buren. Police say the driver of one of the cars was taken to the hospital. He is expected to survive. The other driver was gone by the time officers arrived. That car was later found abandoned nearby. At this time, we don't have any details about the vehicle or who may have been behind the wheel.
Mesa police asking for your help this morning in the search for a missing teenager. This is Lanaya Hunter, 17 years old, was last seen leaving her home near Higley and Southern Friday night. She is described as African American, 5'5", 220 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a pink shirt, gray pants, sweatpants, and carrying a small purse. If you recognize her or know where she could be, please call Mesa Police.
Taking a look at headlines across Arizona this morning, Cochise County Sheriff's Office with a warning about 2 gray foxes in the Ramsey Canyon area that have tested positive for rabies. One was spotted near a business and appeared sick. The second was being aggressive and had to be euthanized. People are advised to avoid contact with any wild animal and have all pets vaccinated for rabies as a precaution. Anyone scratched or bitten by a wild animal is also advised to get immediate medical attention.
Heads up for drivers here in the Loop 101 in the Northeast Valley.
Yeah, this morning a major off-ramp is closed and will remain shut down for the next 2 months. We're talking about the southbound Loop 101 off-ramp to Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. It's closed overnight and it's part of ADOT's freeway widening project. Now all goes according to plan. The ramp should reopen in late May. Now drivers should use the Princess Drive Pima Road off-ramp to get to Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard.
New AI tech will be able to help in the fight against wildfires in Arizona.
Well, that's the hope, all right. Irene is live with APS this morning on how this will help firefighters. This is pretty interesting, Irene.
Good morning, guys. Well, yeah, this is certainly very interesting technology. You can take a look and see we have some of the cameras here right now. And Wade here with APS is going to explain to us a little more about how this is all going to work. Okay, so this is brand new technology. Walk us through these cameras here and what we're seeing.
Sure. So this is an example of the Brady fire just a few months ago south of Prescott. So this is the early detection. This is the AI picking up the smoke. So this little carrot that you see here early on in the fire.
Let's walk over here too. What are we seeing on this camera here?
So once the fire is picked up, then we drop that into our modeling system. So The modeling system then takes that fire and it gives us the worst case scenario over the first 8 hours. So this is no suppression taken into effect. The green barbs that you see going across there is the wind speed and wind direction. Again, the yellow line over to the top is our power line, so it gives us a good idea of potentially what the impact might be.
And this is fairly new technology, but as you mentioned, you already used it for the Brady fire. How game-changing is this as far as what you've seen so far?
From a situational awareness perspective, it's totally a game changer for all of us, the fire service as well as us, so that we can plan and prepare for potentially impact to our system and letting our customers know potentially what could happen.
Then we have another map over here, correct?
Yeah, so this is kind of a progression of it. So again, we've deployed over 100 weather stations across our system. So these weather stations are actually sitting on our power poles to give us a really real-time idea of what the conditions are on our circuit, on our power lines.
Wow, so it works just like that, and then you're able to give the information to the fire services and then hopefully stop wildfires in their tracks.
Yep, they have all of this information available to them, and we can do spot weather forecasts with our meteorologists to help keep them safe as well.
And then we have John here to talk a little bit more. You've worked with wildfires for how many years now?
46 years.
46 years. Okay, so you have a lot of experience as far as battling these wildfires and going out to calls. What have you seen so far as a difference with this AI technology? As he mentioned, the Brady fire was one example where you're able to use this new AI technology.
Yeah, again, early detection, and again, fire moving across the landscape is a science. You get all this information, you put it together, and you can predict the spread of how that fire is going to move across that landscape. So with the early detection on that, on the cameras, it allows us as fire service to kind of model our response to that with the way the fires burn across the landscape.
Oh. And then you were telling me too, we were talking a little bit before this live shot, it's going to be at least you're expecting, a pretty busy wildfire season this year because of the dryness. How much is this going to really help and be a game changer here? I think you used that word earlier when we were talking. You said this is a game changer for fighting wildfires.
No, it truly is a game changer. It's going to allow us to be able to monitor the state as a whole. When we get into the more active part of the fire season, we'll have multiple fires going throughout the state. It'll allow us to strategize and prioritize those fires, because we'll be pretty limited on our resources once you get those multiple fires across the state.
And then we'll just bring Wade back in really quickly. Just what is the next step for this? So this is kind of newer technology. You used it for a couple fires already. What are the next steps of this project?
Really, the big picture is situational awareness for all of us, for the firefighters as well as our customers. So it's really integrating all this information and making it timely so we can get out the right information to our customers and to the fire service.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both very much for your time today. Definitely very interesting to see the new technology and how it already has helped to fight the Brady fire, which is depicted here, as Wade mentioned. We'll send it back to you guys.
That is pretty cool, isn't it? To use technology in that way.
A great resource for the crews to really tackle some of these blazes. Irene, thank you so much.